Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to 2 Point Campus, or should I say 2 Point Krampus. Yes, this is a very late Christmas gift from me to you. We're going to do a walkthrough of 2 Point Krampus, the Christmas challenge, which I didn't do because I wasn't really doing anything over Christmas, just enjoying myself and relaxing. And now that the Valentine's Day challenge is out of the way, we're going to dive into this one, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on. So, every student and teacher was merry on campus, all but that one chap they called the 2 Point Krampus. For most, the season meant whimsy and baubles to wash down their learning, but the Krampus just thought of the toys he'd be burning. It could be, perhaps, that he hated the snow, or maybe being given the same pair of socks 3 years in a row. So sing while you can and stuff in some cheer, just please be aware that a monster is near. We've got to raise money for 2 years by making people happy and protecting the festive spirit from a demonic buzzkill. Our course is gastronomy and our student intake is 15. We are back in Piazza Lanatra, which was the second level of the career mode. So let's dive in. So to start with, we're going to be taking the cheapest plot. It is, however, going to be the smallest available plot, so we do have to be very careful with how we plan our campus. It's also going to leave us at a disadvantage when Krampus visits. So what Krampus does when he comes into your campus is he'll find a room or some sort of other location, and he will cast a spell, and the spell is Christmas fear or something, or some sort of negative impacting spell that affects our students. And the area of effect is, it's a decent size. And having cramped hallways and small rooms and spaces, it means that it's going to probably hit the largest number of students it can possibly have. Hopefully, though, we'll be able to deal with that. So it's plot 6 that we're going to take on. And the next thing is to build our first campus building. So you can see the left side of this plot. We're basically going to fill that in with our first building. And then we'll expand that building as we need it. But we're only going to expand it to fit in new rooms and create a corridor. That's going to save us money as we start to develop this campus out. Eventually, we should hit a point where we're making enough money to be able to kind of flesh this out a little bit more. But we really need to be kind of like spendthrifts in this build. Very much like all of the other challenge modes. You've really got to manage your money carefully because you can't take out loans. You can't add new courses. So it's quite difficult to generate income. And as a lot of these things are based on the happiness of your students and stuff and other various aspects of campus care, having things like the Orb Club often is a very risky path to be treading. So the main aim here for one thing that we need to worry about is the thermal comfort rating. We need to get that as close to 100% as possible with careful placement of radiators. We then need to amp up the decoration in every room and the campus building itself. High attractiveness ratings have a direct effect on student happiness, and if we can simply make them as happy as possible, the decrease to that happiness level from the negative effects that we get from not only Krampus, but the regular snowstorms that happen on campus in this Christmas level, they shouldn't harm us too much. Remember, if the average happiness rating is high enough, the negative effects are kind of going to be balanced out. So if the students aren't impacted by any negative effects and they're as happy as possible, the average rating of the student campus will balance out quite nicely. So we're going to build our lecture theatre here and fill it with the cheapest items possible to boost the decor and save money. It's not going to be a good looking campus. It's going to be filled with cheap tat. And as you can see, the $10 UFO poster is featuring heavily because it only costs $10. So it's going to look more like we're warning about an invasion from outer space rather than the Krampus himself. So we're just kind of placing our radiators, trying to get them put in as delicately as possible so that we can get the maximum thermal comfort rating in the room. You can see there the bar has increased quite a bit, but we need a little bit more in. And of course, we're not really trying to push the prestige, so we can have multiple versions and multiple duplications of the same kind of stuff. All we want to do is increase the attractiveness rating of the room, and that kind of is relatively unimpeded by having duplicates of items in there. As long as there's enough to fill up that attractiveness bar, we're going to be okay. So the prestige level, you can see, is slowing down. It's not really going up at all, but the attractiveness rating is now at 100%, which is exactly what we're looking for. And that was relatively cheap. We've still got plenty of budget left, and we can continue developing things here as well. I'm just going to sell that radiator, though, because we want to get that thermal comfort rating done really nice. So we're probably going to have to use a combination of the small radiators and a medium-sized one just to get it right. And I can't actually fit one in this side by the looks of things, unless we can do some sort of weird rotation. And yeah, it's not looking like it's going to fit in. So what I'll probably have to do is move the lectern along a little bit to create a little bit of space, and then we can pop down a little bit more of a thermal comfort range in the room. So one of the things that we do need to be aware of is like with thermal comfort, we should probably be targeting around about the 80% mark. That's going to keep everybody happy. And then the attractiveness rating, we should aim to push that all the way up to 100% or like 95% or something like that. So it's 82% with a large radiator in, which still isn't really what I'm looking for. So you can see there's a lot to do in terms of intricate design of your rooms, and it can be quite difficult in this level, and if you're not patient with it, it's not going to really benefit you very much. And even here, with only 76% or something in thermal comfort, that's because it's now too hot in the room. So you can see lots of like fiddling about and trying to get everything just right. But I think I'm pretty happy with it. There we go. That's around about 95, maybe even 96%. Putting another one in is only going to bring it down, as you can see. So we'll get rid of that one. We'll try it with 2 small radiators, only 74%. So it seems like the way to go is definitely going to be a medium-sized radiator and the small one. But all of this directly feeds into the happiness of your students. If they're in a campus where they're warm, comfortable, and it looks nice, they're going to be happy. So what can happen here is the snowstorms and a Krampus visit can give students both negative effects. So the Krampus invasion, that gives a pastoral issue, and the snowstorms give a medical issue. So students can get up to a 50% decrease in their happiness. Of course, not every student is going to be impacted by them. Some will only get 25 and some will get none at all because they'll avoid the snowstorm and they'll avoid the visit from Krampus. That is why if we have maximum happiness generated from the students being in a nice environment, it's going to balance out our average happiness rating. Just remember, the average happiness rating is a cumulative number that is based off your entire student population. So while some of them can be unhappy, the others being happy should balance that out and you'll still be able to make income. Now your income is generated based on how happy your students are, so you kind of need to keep that up as high as possible. There are going to be months where it fluctuates because you can get hit by a visit from Krampus and a snowstorm at exactly the same time, and you could still be recovering from one when another one happens. So just be prepared for that number of monthly income to fluctuate a lot. Coming over to our dormitory though, it's going to be basic with enough beds for our first 15 students and a load of decorative items to upgrade the attractiveness and replace the heaters and a few entertainment items. One of the great things about dorms is you can give students a little bit of entertainment in there, which is why we've got the owl in there, because it gives entertainment and it's very, very cheap. Again, the UFA abduction posters go in, and that just boosts that attractiveness rating up. Once that's done, we'll put in our heaters. Another good idea would be, while you've got this budget, if you are increasing the attractiveness rating, when you've got a really, really attractive looking campus, if you can push your campus level up to level 4, I think it is, you'll be able to upgrade this course. Upgrading the course before you start the new year is going to give you a nice boost to the number of students that come in your first year. And if you have more students who are happier, you're going to make more money in this first year. And it's really important that you want to kind of get to around about the $170,000 in your first year, maybe up to $200,000. That would be the dream. I always try to aim for that bronze objective in my first year. Of course, in this one, the bronze objective is $300,000 raised. Then the next one I think is $400,000 and your final one is $600,000. So if you can get near enough that bronze target by the end of your first year, when you get your next intake of students where you have students moving on to year 2 and a bunch of first years coming in, if you've then managed to get your course upgraded by 2 levels, which I did manage to do this in this gold playthrough that we're doing here, if we can manage to get that done, you are going to have a nice high population. And I think getting around about the 80% happiness mark later on in the video, I was making about $55,000 every month, which means, say we were getting that towards the last 6 months, I'm making $300,000 if I keep that happiness level up, which means if I just hit the bronze earlier on in the year, I'm pretty much guaranteed to hit the gold by the end of the year. Of course, with varying fluctuations and stuff, it can be quite difficult, and that is not exactly how the level plays out. There's a lot of additional factors to consider during this playthrough. So you can already see we've put in some showers and bathrooms that were prefabs that I made in my career mode playthrough. You can actually watch the full career mode playthrough on the channel if you want. It's a little bit more jump cutting through on that because it takes a number of years on the campus to actually go through. Whereas the challenge mode stuff, I prefer to kind of talk about them and show you the full process because it's very much something where if you're having difficulty with it, you can watch this video and kind of follow along. So we have these things in and we're just decorating them again, getting the attractiveness rating up and the thermal comfort rating. As long as they're pretty high, we do need to put a few more things in this bathroom to improve the attractiveness, and we can just squeeze a few posters in. Now these posters are quite expensive. There's not a lot that you can do in the bathrooms. You kind of just have to go for these $300 posters, which does mean they become quite expensive rooms. Luckily though, the like base room things are pretty cheap, so it's kind of an offset that you can take. Next up, we're going to put in our savoury station. Savoury kitchen. They're going to be like mixing stations and stuff in here. Of course, we need to put the big super chef in. That's going to eat into our budget quite a bit. And then we'll put in like a washing station, which is good for the hygiene of our students. So we'll keep that up as well. One of the things that I found most difficult in the campus and stuff across like the whole career mode was keeping that hygiene rating up. It just felt like students never wanted to wash. So giving access to those sort of stations is going to really keep that hygiene rating up. And again, negative hygiene impacts the happiness of your students. So you've kind of got to layer this on and really think about how you're designing those rooms. Because if you do have students who don't have a nice looking campus and it's not like accessibility kind of thing where they're able to get to all of their needs and fulfill them in a very small space, they're unhappy. And then if you add on the Krampus stuff and the snowstorms, it can really ruin the amount of money you're making. I will say if you're making kind of below $40,000 a month in your second year of this challenge, it gets very, very difficult. You can also get into a spiral of things where everything just kind of gets a little bit out of control if you don't get your medical lab set up and your pastoral care early on. So we were having a little bit of problems with our savoury kitchen here. We were running out of wall space to fit all of these posters on to boost the environment up there. I've said attractiveness rating so much, and what I actually mean is environment. So on this tab here, you can see on the right of your screen, we have the thermometer, which is your thermal comfort, the bar of soap, which is your hygiene, and the flower, which is your environment. That's like environmental attractiveness. It's nothing to do with kind of having a clean and safe environment, but dropping litter and stuff in here will impact that environmental rating as things go on. So maybe putting some bins in would be a good idea. That's something that I probably should have done, but I always forget to put bins in. Anyway, we're just going to try and push this up another couple of percent, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen. I'll stick down another plant and see if that helps. It gets it to 99%, maybe another one in there. Let's see if that helps. Still at 99. I guess we can just leave it. It's not really a problem if it just stays at that level. There's nothing really else we can put in. We've got no wall space. Maybe if I'd used the like precision move, I could have got a few more items in there, but it's not going to happen. We can't even fit this spice rack on the wall. Maybe this little cupboard will go in there. See, it still doesn't push it above 99%. I don't know if that's like a game thing or these things, despite being decorative, don't actually add anything to the environment. We can maybe put a hygiene poster in. I'll take out a DJ Sous Chef poster and put in a hygiene poster. Where's it gone? That's the wrong tab, Lee. Come on. There it is. Put that in. See if it does anything. No. Well, I'll give up on that. I think that's fine at 99%. You can't get much higher than that, can you? So that's not much of an issue. So we already have a teacher hired and put down, and we just need to kind of find a few. We'll take on this assistant because we're going to need someone to work in pastoral care. At the moment, we're not really going to get much in the way of higher level applicants for our courses and our assistants and janitors. But if we can take on the level 1 kind of staff members here, we're going to be able to do things a little bit easier and a little bit quicker. And then when we get into year 2 and we've upgraded our course a little bit, we're going to be able to hire some more capable staff members. We're going to put in the Time Tourism Club because it seems to be the most effective one here. We've got good teachers, and if we can fill out the courses and get a decent library in there, we're not going to need Book Club. Nature Club is a little bit of a risk because it's going to involve students going outside. Obviously, Time Tourism Club is the same, but time tourism will allow us to entertain our students, and that's pretty good in the early game because we're not going to have a lot of money here, so we can't be doing like events all the time and things. But what I would suggest is when you get to a point where you're making enough money, like we are going to later on in the video, I would then start really pushing events. So get a student lounge down, get your lecture theatres working really hard, and get plenty of events scheduled in, because that will once again give a 20% boost to the happiness of your students. So if you have a student that's kind of affected by one negative effect, like a 25% reduction because they have the medical issue, if they then go and see a film which boosts their happiness by 20%, you're actually only going to get a 5% negative impact on that student's happiness. So if you're considering all of the factors in here, they might be at like, let's say they have 100 happiness points, so they're ultimately very happy. They then lose 25 points from that because of a reduction from having that negative effect. But they then go and see a film, which then adds 20 points back on, so they're actually at 95% happiness rather than 75. Or even 50, from having both medical issues, the medical and the pastoral issue. So yeah, you can balance things out by counteracting the negative percentile impacting things by having some good ones. So for instance, say a student goes to a lounge party and then watches a film, you could potentially negate most of those negative effects. And yeah, that's just how it works. So once again, coming in, we have the Space Academy little astronomical spider here, which is $500 and gives a nice bit of entertainment as well. Same with the hologram table. They're cheap, they're nice to look at, they improve the attractiveness rating of your campus, which is like kind of our external areas here, where we don't have a lot of decorative items, but we still need to make it look attractive. Just remember, while students spend a lot of time in the rooms, they also spend a lot of time wandering the corridors. So if they're going between different areas, it's not going to be fun. We've just hired our medical office trained assistant there as well, and then we're going to have a look for one more assistant. We're going to need one to work in our library when we finally get it up and running. We have $30,000 left. So we're going to put in our library now, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to close off a part of the building here by making my library small and having it right at the front there, so it kind of is in line with the savoury kitchen. We put the library down. We just need to hire someone to come in there and do it. We also need to decorate that, but we'll do that a little bit later on. Next up, we're going to need to try and hire a janitor. We want a janitor who's trained in mechanics, because what we need to do is upgrade our medical office as soon as possible. We can only get it up to level 2 so far, unless we put in research, but we don't have enough time or money to research the 3rd tier in our medical office. Another thing I need to mention is if you've done all of your research in career mode and stuff, it counts for nothing in challenge mode. You have to research anything that you're going to need in challenge mode. And while you are presented with a few additional items in terms of research, like we already have medical office 2 unlocked, so we can upgrade that omnicure to level 2, we don't have everything. We can also upgrade our super chef, so that's something else that we could consider. But what I'm going to do is, while I wait for the right number of staff that I want and the right traded staff, we're just going to jump ahead. So I'll see you guys once I've got all of this done and I'm ready to start my year. Okay, so we are back and ready to start the year. You'll also see that we managed to just about get our campus level up to 4, which meant we could improve the level of our course. This was all done by just decorating and stuff, so what we're going to need to do is expand the dormitory. So we'll add an extra bed in to accommodate our brand new intake of students. We did decorate the library, put in a load of decorative items, as well as the the actual campus hallways as well. That's pretty much what took us up to level 4. And as you can see, the students are coming in and their happiness is dropping. That's because they are kind of coming in from like outside areas and they're in the cold. So the student happiness is going to plummet, and we need to get them basically into the building as quickly as possible, or at least onto the plot as quickly as possible, so that those outside heaters and then the warmth and attractiveness of the interior of the campus can get that happiness back up. And as long as we can do that and make enough money at the end of this month to hire our brand new teacher, which wasn't actually going to be that one. I had one lined up and it's kind of disappeared. So we're going to have to wait, and hopefully we'll get a new applicant who's got better traits and has a decent level of qualification for gastronomy teaching. As long as we can get that done by the time this lesson starts, we can pause the game, drop them in. You can see the happiness is creeping back up now. Our campus building needs decorating though, but we don't have the money to do that. Once that's got back up, we can decorate our campus and everything will look good. We're just going to pause now, take in our monthly intake, and then we're just going to have to hire. Okay, Iron Bladder and Rapid, they've at least got good traits. It could be better in terms of their skill level for teaching gastronomy, but other than that, that's not too bad. Now, our accommodation rating in our dormitory has dropped slightly. We'd like to keep that up. That's something else that impacts the happiness of their students. So while our dorm has a maximum environment attractiveness level and a good temperature, they need more to improve the rating of this accommodation. So we're going to add an extra length to the side of the dormitory here. Get rid of the radiator for now. We will have to keep adjusting the temperature requirements and stuff in the main campus as we expand. So we're going to have to move radiators around quite a lot just to make sure that the heat is dispersed quite nicely. And yeah, we've gone wild on the Christmassy wallpaper, so it's all looking a little bit garish. Improving the size of the room hasn't improved the accommodation rating, so we're going to have to come in with more entertainment items. So we'll put another owl in. We've got one there, actually. We'll not bother with that. We will put the space pet in though. So again, having expansions, I do think we are a little bit of an advantage here because some of the cheaper items were all from the Space Academy DLC. So yeah, having those things in has kind of given us a little bit of an advantage. So if you don't have the DLC, I mean, I guess maybe consider picking it up, but it kind of makes it a bit pay to win, but that's we'll let that pass. The accommodation rating is now improving though. It's at about 75% now. So if we can put down a few more nice decorative items, stick a couple of rugs on the floor, it should boost up quite nicely. And if we can get this to around the 85 to 90% mark, I think we can then just be happy with what we've got. Although putting in those rugs hasn't seemed to improve things at all, which is a bit of a shame. Maybe we need more relationship items. There's only the love bed. What about a chair? If we put the dark throne in, so you can see the kind of like the, no, that's not worked either. Maybe we just need more decorative items to improve the rating of the accommodation. Or we could put some windows in because we don't have any. That's a good idea. Right, that puts it up to 83%. We can put another one in. I think we're going to get it with this now. So having some nice natural light coming into these rooms is definitely helping to improve the rating. I never put windows in my campuses. I've just realized, like, even on the career mode, I didn't bother. So that's something that I should look to do in the future. Anyway, we are now set. We're making $22,000 a month with our student happiness continuing to climb. And yeah, that's looking really good. Everything's well decorated. We've got maximum ratings across the board there and things are looking pretty good. Now, there's another teacher there, Randy Mayonnaise. We're just going to get rid of them. So what I want to do is I want to keep refreshing the applicants here and just try and get as many in as possible that are good. So we're at $30,000 after 2 months, which is pretty damn good. You can see our targets, 300,000, 450,000 and 600,000. We want the big one, the 600,000. So we're going to have to really kind of work hard in this first year to give us a good footing for our second year. Remember, more students means more income from a higher happiness rating. Very similar to the objectives that we had in, I think it was called, oh man, what was it? The one where we had to do the beach parties. But anyway, Krampus has arrived. So we're going to try and get the thermal comfort rating in here boosted a little bit. You can see the placement of radiators here is very much a key aspect of winning and succeeding on this level. So 84%, I think it would be nice to put that up a little bit. And I think one of the reasons why it's low is because that little void that we've got behind the library doesn't have any radiators in. So maybe putting them in place. And here's Krampus dropping his like weird spells. And yeah, that gives a pastoral issue, which is a little bit of a shame having the Time Tourism Club there. So it's Unhappy Holidays is the name of the pastoral issue that they get. And he's dropped another one right in there. That's actually quite fortuitous because he'd already dropped one quite close by. He's then gone in and hidden in the corner of our savoury kitchen and then dropped another one. So it's not too much of an issue. We are, however, just going to move that and then we'll put our first kind of pastoral care room in here. That's about it. I think that should do it. Thermal comfort 92, environment 100. Great. That's our pastoral support room in, and now we can start curing those pastoral issues that our students have from the Krampus visit. The next thing we're probably going to have to do is start building our finances up again so we can put in our medical room. That's because next up we're probably going to have our first snowstorm. What I want to aim to do is, and what I think anyone doing this level should aim to do, is have 2 medical offices and 2 pastoral support rooms. It's difficult to fit in a small plot, but you can do it, and I'll show you me doing it later on in the video, because that's exactly what I do to complete the level. And as long as the happiness rating of your students is high enough, you can see we've got like pastoral issues. You saw there when we came into our like overview tab, we had 11 on campus, which isn't great. I'm just putting a radiator in that void there, and that should solve the comfort issues. It does, 98%. And an environment of 60%. So anyway, yeah, so you can see we do have a lot of issues, but our student happiness on average is 71%. So we're still making a nice bit of money. And if we can solve the pastoral issues before anything else happens, we're looking pretty good. So I'm just bringing up my attractiveness rating tab here so I can start filling out the environment and improving the like beauty and the environment within these campus hallways. So once again, we're going to go with the cheapest items, but we're also going to try and keep them Christmassy themed. So our festive lights will go down and a few other items that we have available to us. Obviously, because it's a Christmas themed campus, you can see the garish wallpaper everywhere. We're just going to have to pretend. I know I'm recording this video in March and it's probably going to be released in like mid-March. Just for a moment, pretend that it's December again and we can all kind of ignore the fact that I forgot about this level. Anyway, yeah, so you will get requests from your students to put these Christmas themed items in, like the little snowman there and the inflatable reindeer that we're going to put down. So if we can get ahead of them, you're fulfilling your students' needs, because it's so easy when you're playing this game to kind of get bogged down doing something else and forget about the inbox messages you receive from students. And sometimes, and I have noticed this, and I don't know if this is actually a quirk of gameplay or it's an actual legitimate bug, sometimes students do need those items and they want to seek out those items, but you never get an inbox message from them. It's like they just kind of, I hope the managers of the campus put something in, but I feel a bit nervous and I don't really want to request it. So it is still pretty important to kind of look after your students and kind of look at them and see what kind of requests they might have that are lying under the surface. I get a lot of requests, like I see students that have wants to join a club, but maybe you don't have the club that they want in place, and they won't join any old club. It's almost like there's like a secret bit in there that, I mean, it might not be so secret, I might just be completely oblivious to it, that students will have a desire to join certain clubs, and if you don't have those clubs on your campus, they never really request them. But yeah, I'm kind of droning on a little bit while I'm doing this decorating. But you can see here, we've pretty much filled it out, and we're going to finish off with a couple of rugs in this void. And actually, we now have a snowstorm. So, snowstorm? What's going on? A snowstorm. And we're now going to have to build our medical centre. So we probably need to do a little bit of manoeuvring in this room, which means those rugs that I've just placed down are probably going to have to go, because I'm going to need to move the library so I can fit in my medical centre. So let's just have a quick look here. We're almost at the end of December, coming into January. It's actually Christmas on campus now. Merry Christmas, everybody. And we need to move the library. So we'll get that shifted now, and that should give us enough space to put in our medical lab. We have made $76,000, and we are just, this is the 5th month. Or am I? Yeah, this is the 5th month going into the 6th. We've got our medical office in, and then it'll just be a case of, once again, decorating it nicely and making sure that it has a good thermal comfort rating. So I'm going to do that, and I will see you in a moment once I've finished that expansion. And that's the last lights going in, and we're pretty good. We can maybe squeeze something else in. Let's see if we can put a wreath on the wall there just before that medical cabinet. 100% on the environment there, and of course the thermal comfort rating was pretty far high as well. We're going to upgrade our Omnicure immediately, and that's going to really help us throughout the rest of this year. So we're in a really good position now. We have all of our basic kind of student-based things in. We're into our 6th month of the year, and yeah, everything can kind of just move ahead now. Obviously we're going to need to put a few more decorative items in, and yeah, it's just looking a lot smoother now. So obviously let's take a look at the issues. We've got 10 pastoral issues and 8 medical issues. So it's pretty imperative that we expand things very soon by adding more medical centres and another pastoral support room. We have a student happiness of 67%, and this is because we are now dealing with multiple issues. So what I think we need to do is pop a student lounge in. So I'm going to move all of these items here, and we can probably fit a smallish student lounge just in this little location here. and that is going to allow us to maybe put on a few parties towards the end of the year. So as long as the students are happy and having these parties, they're going to get a boost to their happiness, like I mentioned before, which kind of negates some of the issues that they might have through the pastoral or medical issues that they then take on when we have the invasions and the snowstorms. This is what I was talking about earlier on in the episode, where you can use the percentage boosts from things like parties and films to offset the issues that crop up from those couple of disasters that will happen on campus. So I'm going to jump ahead again, and this student lounge will be complete by the time we come back. And now we're just putting the finishing touches on this student lounge. Now, the student lounge itself, it's only got a couple of items in here, and that's because the room capacity is only 6. So we've got the 2-player arcade table in there, a sofa, the 4-person kind of social table, and the table football table. We don't need any more than that because, like I said, student capacity is only 6, so there's plenty of stuff for students to do in there. And once we start having student parties and stuff, here comes Krampus again, which is a little bit of a disaster because our happiness is currently only at 69-70%. It is increasing, but now that Krampus is in, we're going to have a load more pastoral issues. So you can kind of see the need for having multiple pastoral support and medical rooms in there. So Omnicure's getting an upgrade on the go, and everything's looking good. And I think now what we need to do is just focus on building our finances for a development and the expansion of the campus at the end of this year. We're going to hire this new teacher, bringing in our gastronomy class to two teachers, because we do need to have an extra one for next year's student intake. We are a little bit shy of upgrading our campus again, so we're going to need to just upgrade things a little bit more. So it might be good to bring in our new staff members to work in our medical lab and our pastoral support in advance of that. That should help advance our campus level a little bit more. Krampus doing his work there, which is a little bit annoying, but I think if we can push up to level 7 on the campus, maybe hire another janitor as well, then we'll be able to just hit that level 7, upgrade our course, and then have an even higher student intake for the new year, which is probably going to make things a little bit difficult in terms of financial expansion. But if we have enough money by the end of the year, by not spending anything now, we should be able to cope with expanding the campus and bringing in some new rooms, because we're going to need more dormitories, more savoury kitchens. We're going to need to build a sweet kitchen, and potentially, if we can increase the campus level high enough, we'll probably need another lecture theatre, as well as dormitories, which I think I already said. But yeah, it would also be good to have a staff room at some point, because at the moment when our staff go on break, they're just going outside and hanging around, which brings them further away from the rooms that they need to be in to actually work efficiently. So our Omnicure has now been upgraded, and as you can see, we can't upgrade it further because we need to research the level 3 Omnicure. We do not have the money, time, or resources to do that, and by the time we get it researched, we'd probably not have enough time left in the challenge to see the benefits of a level 3 Omnicure. Just responding to our student request by putting in a park bench and stuff, and I think probably the best thing to do now is to just jump ahead towards the end of the year. Anything that we've developed or added, I'll let you know about, but I don't think we're going to end up doing anything further. We just need to preserve our finances, build the amount of money that we've raised, and cope with any issues from the snowstorms and the visits of Krampus. So I'll see you at the end of this year. So we are now at the beginning of our brand new year, not the end of our last one. And you can see there's still room here to expand, and in front of the door here, we're going to leave a corridor there and then kind of expand a little bit further. We'll have to do a little bit of moving around. I would like to have that door right there if we do have to expand the building further, but it would also be nice to have a little bit of a smooth corridor. We're upgrading our campus again, which means we're going to need another gastronomy teacher. We're also going to need another lecture theatre and a sweet kitchen. So that is quite a big expansion, and we haven't actually had enough money to do it. But looking at the calendar, we only actually need to build a sweet kitchen by the end of our first month of this year. We have a new dormitory. Here we go. We're just looking at where the sweet kitchen, that lecture theatre doesn't need to be built until very late on in the year. So we can leave that until we've got enough money. The sweet kitchen is the most important though, so we'll get that done as soon as possible. You can see we have our savoury kitchen in. That is just a straightforward duplication of the one that we already have, and the dormitory is very much the same, another duplication of the dorm we already have. We're beginning our new year, and you can see we have 27 days to build that sweet kitchen. Student happiness is dropping because, once again, the students are arriving at the campus from all sorts of different areas and being affected by the cold. We're going to try picking up the entrance, actually. I'll just put it there. I don't know why I didn't think to do that in the first place, so yeah, that's done, and then we'll start moving some of the other items right up to here so that I already have the space assigned for when I next expand the campus. You can see by the medical centre there's a nice little corridor that's formed there. We can just move further down and put all of our new buildings on the other side there, which creates a nice little bit of space for our new expansion. I'm going to leave a heater in though because students are still gathering outside in that area. The time tourism ride we'll put in as the club continues to expand, which is really good. But you can see right here, we are going to need to fit in some fairly sizable rooms, and we don't have a lot of space left, which means a lot of the outdoor activities are going to become very, very cramped. I never said this was going to look pretty. It's going to be messy, but it's going to get the completion. So let's just pause things and have a quick look at where we can fit in our sweet kitchen. We have $36,184, which is enough for the sweet kitchen, but we don't have space. So when we actually expand the campus, we're going to go under budget again. But I can just get rid of that time tourism ride for now and put it back in at the end of the month. And that shouldn't affect the club too much or the students' happiness. So we have $37,000 in the bank, which is enough for the basic sweet kitchen. We'll kick things back off again so that we can finish building the expansion to our campus building, and then we'll pop the sweet kitchen down. Now, you did see there, when I actually put it in, I only expanded enough so that I could fit in this sweet kitchen, and that's because we don't really want to expand too much yet. Once we've got a bit of money coming in, we should be okay. The mixing station's been requested, so we'll pop that straight in. We can't afford anything else, so let's move on. At the end of this month though, we'll be able to expand a little bit further. We have $198,000 in the bank though from our challenge mode, which means we are in touching distance of that first set of objectives. We are making $44,000 a month, so mathematically speaking, we should be able to do this. If we can sort out the happiness issues on the campus though, by making things look a little bit prettier, obviously with the expansion, our exterior corridor attractiveness has dropped, so we're going to need to sort that out as a priority too, as well as the heating. If we can do those things, we should be okay. What I'd like to do is aim to get about $50,000 a month, which should bring us right up to our target. We need to make another $402,000 to achieve our objectives, and we have 10 months to do that. Well, 11 months actually, because we've not got through September yet. So we are actually on target. This should give us what? Well, we're not on target actually. This will give us $448,000. So we'll be a little bit short. But if we can have a few good months in like November, December time, where we can get that happiness back up to around 75% by like careful management of the happiness of our students. There we go. Actually, we had 11 months, not 10 months. Sorry, my maths is all over the place because I'm trying to figure this all out, as well as expanding the campus. Right, we are expanding the building a little bit. We'll move the time tourism ride, well, put it back in that little like alleyway around the other side of the campus, put a new heater in, and that is all of our exterior land heated. So, happiness is continuing to rise. We're at $241,000, which means probably 2 more months and we'll have raised the money required for the bronze objectives. That will leave about $359,000 to achieve over the course of the next 10 months. And judging by our current funding, we should be able to clear the gold objectives by the end of May or end of June. So everything's looking really, really good. The environmental attractiveness there is about 75%, so we could do with increasing that a little bit more, and the best way to do this is to just fill the walls with stuff. We put another dormitory in, and then that should actually... Yep, now there's 15 students in each dorm. We had 45 students, so there were like 5 students that were spread across the 2 dormitories that were knocking the environmental rating and the accommodation rating down, which affected happiness again. You can see now that we've put that new dormitory in, student happiness has gone up to 73%, and we are making bank. $50,000+ every month now puts us well clear of the objectives and yeah, in a very good position. So that there's not really much more to do. All we need to kind of keep an eye on is these visits from Krampus, which are going to affect the happiness, and just making sure that there's enough entertainment, enough attractiveness, and enough like other bits and pieces within the communal areas of the campus, and that should help us get over the line. Our environment is 79%, so a couple more items to just boost the attractiveness a little bit more. Maybe some plants will be nice. That'll make the place look a little bit tidier as well, and then possibly some rugs and some wall items and things. There's plenty of decorative items we can put down, and of course our abduction posters, because whilst Krampus is a threat, the threat of alien abduction is far greater. Krampus is only here at Christmas time. Aliens are here for life. That should be the motto of this campus. But yeah, I think this is pretty much the challenge complete. So we'll continue on for a little bit. But what I could probably do now, just to cut down on time, you know what we're doing here, keeping that decoration rating up. We'll go to the next time we need to build and expand things, which is probably going to be our lecture theatre, or potentially another pastoral support room and another medical lab. So now we're shoring things up a little bit, and it's time to just kind of maximize the effectiveness of our campus and our ability to treat our students for any issues that they have, mainly caused by the snowstorms and the visits from Krampus. So we're duplicating our medical lab now, and we're just going to try and fit it in. This is going to get a little bit tedious and a little bit bitty for you as a viewer. So I'm just going to kind of do these little like adjustments and stuff, and we're going to jump ahead until those adjustments have been completed, because as you can see here, I'm having to kind of adjust doorways and move things around quite a lot, and it can get a little bit boring and it takes me a while to get it correct. But being in such a small location and having to make these minuscule adjustments is absolutely necessary when you're dealing with a small plot and not wanting to expand. As you can see, we still only have $19,000 in the bank. Oh, there's a wonderful assistant to go in our medical lab, so we'll put them in and we'll just have them working in the medical office, and that is really good. We'll upgrade our Omnicure with the spare cash that we have in this month, and we're going to refuse the winter kiosk and the smoothie kiosk because I don't want to take an extra assistant on. I know, you know, kind of answering your students' requests is probably important, but right now we're not too bothered. You can see we have 22 medical issues and 14 pastoral issues. And the medical issues, that's the reason why I've added a second medical office instead of a pastoral care. But our next target will be a second pastoral care room. You can see, end of this month, we're going to achieve our bronze objectives. We'll just wait for that to tick over so we can have a little bit of a celebration and give ourselves a nice pat on the back. And 3, 2, 1. There we go. Bronze objectives complete. 3, 2, 7. So we have $273,000 to get over the next 7 months. That took me a little bit of time to count. So I'm going to start moving things now outdoors, because we're going to need to expand into this tiny little corridor here. That's going to be able to fit in our new pastoral care room. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to build something that's around about the size of our pastoral support and squeeze it in so that the doorway is at the end of that corridor. Of course, we're going to do some adjustments, but I will jump ahead and we'll kind of talk about the adjustments that we've made. But right now, I'm just going to copy that room in so that once it's been completed, we can actually put it in place. We'll drop it down and then move the doorway so that for now, students can actually access it and we can get some pastoral care in. We'll also look to upgrade our assistants too. We are building a staff room because I said I wanted to do one. We'll put in a couple of sofas. The staff don't need too much. They just need somewhere to go that's in this building to prevent them from going outside and having a wander around. We'll put in a student lounge party. And then, of course, with our spare cash, we're going to look to fill out the number of student parties that we have. Also, we're going to try and build our new lecture theatre as early as possible, because what I want to do is get that lecture theatre in and then fill it with films. We need to remember that it's not actually going to be used until between June and July. So all of that time in between, we can have films on. I'm putting the student lounge parties in the free time that our students have so that they're filling out the calendar right up until the end of the year. Remember, our student lounge can only fit 6 people in it. The next thing I want to do is move this savoury kitchen. So we've moved a few items so that we can create a corridor down here. And the reason I'm doing this is our new lecture theatre is going to kind of back out onto the current lecture theatre. So we need to expand this building again. Then we'll duplicate our lecture theatre and put it in place. That gives it enough space to actually be placed down, and we can have a nice little corridor going into it as students come out of that other section of the campus. So we'll just wait for that to build, plonk it down, and we're good to go. We can then move a few other rooms around. So this staff room will pop right up to that angle there, and then we'll move this dormitory if I can get it right. Obviously the doorway is going to need to move, so let's just have a think about this, because what we can then do is we can move the hologram table and the vending machines right up to the side of that dormitory. So what we're going to do, actually, we're going to decrease the size of our staff room. This decreases the number of staff who can go in it, but because we're running a fairly low staff profile here, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. So we can squeeze that dormitory in down there and make a little bit more space in this larger communal area here, which means we can put in a few more decorative items to boost it all out. So this is pretty much the final setup. I'm going to try and recruit a few more assistants to get rid of the medically trained staff members that are only at level 1. So we're bringing on a level 2 medical office assistant, and then we'll sack our level 1 assistant. And we're going to try and do the same with our pastoral support one. So let's just find Dan Amethyst here. I'm sorry, mate. You've been a great servant, but it's time for you to leave. I need that cold hard cash, I'm afraid. So we'll just have to deal with you another time. Hopefully, if you train up a little bit, you can reapply and we'll take you back on. We're going to clear out our applicants for assistance in the hope that we get some more coming in. We are at $444,000 now, so a couple of months, I guess, and then we will have completed our silver level. Look at that. Actually, no, it's 1 month. End of this month, we're going to do it. So silver objectives are good to go. And that leaves us with April, May, June, and July to raise $150,000. So I think this is more than achievable in the time that we've got left, and we'll actually end up exceeding our expectations. Yes, I've forgotten how to speak. Krampus has gotten to me too. There we go, silver objectives complete. We have $109,000 left to raise, so looking really good. We'll actually have this done very soon. So we're just about to tick over. 3, 2, 1. Boom! $641,109 raised with a month to spare, and our gold objective is complete. So if you couldn't be bothered to watch the video, TLDR for this level, you need to just make sure you're doing everything you can to keep your students happy. Good thermal comfort rating, good well-decorated environments in your rooms and in your communal areas. Get that time tourism club in if you can. If you don't have the expansion, I'm not sure if Time Tourism Club's available in the base game. I think it was Space Academy DLC where it came out. Maybe try getting the Nature Club. That should probably help keep them happy as well, because it improves the attractiveness of your environment. Just be aware that that's going to force students outside, and you're going to need space for some of the more advanced items. Just make sure you're decorating. Get enough money to do some student lounge parties, and then try and increase your campus level so that you can get that course maxed out to the point where you need a second lecture theatre. Or if you can afford it, just put a second lecture theatre in specifically for films. That's going to give your students 20% boosts to their happiness just from seeing the films. There we have it, $689,822. What a great end to this level. Gold objectives complete. I really hope you enjoyed this. Just basically do everything you can to keep those students happy. The negative impacting on your happiness, you can get 20% boosts to them from just watching films. So it'll only be a 30% decrease in their happiness. As long as their environments are good, they're doing well on their course, and there's plenty of social stuff for them to do to keep them entertained, you're going to be in with a shout of doing this one. Aim for about 175,000 at the end of your first year, and in your second year you should have enough students to keep a nice $45,000 to $50,000 increase coming in every single month. As long as you get that coming in and you don't let that slip, you should be good. But the most important things are having 2 pastoral cares and 2 medical officers, and make sure that you allow your staff members, keep an eye on them. If you can get rid of a level 1 staff member to bring in a level 2 or a 3 or even a 4, like I ended up finding in my pastoral care, get them. It's worth the money because they can cure those issues quicker. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you picked up a load of tips from it. If you did watch the whole thing, thank you so much. Make sure you drop me a like and a subscribe on them. It'd be really great to have you along for the ride. That would be really nice. And I'll do a little bit more 2 Point Campus, and you know the kind of stuff we do on this channel, so I hope you enjoy it. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.